we have Jim Acosta, who is, in many respects, Donald Trump's, chief nemesis.
That's right.
And
he's the bane to Donald Trump's Batman.
He's the bane to Donald Trump's bane.
Exactly.
Oh, Jim Acosta. It's good for you to have come today.
Steve calls the napkin the spick-napkin.
Go. All right. Here is Jim Acosta, because Donald Trump is both saying that it's fake news and real leaks. So somehow the leaks that are coming out of the intel agencies are illegal. And we should say
the
that
leaks are real, but they go through a manufacturing process.
I see.
They have a lot of additives put in, so that by the time they get to the news,
because
they're no longer real.
These leaks are illegal under the way our government treats them, and I think we certainly could use much better whistleblower protections. I think we do have a whistleblower situation here, and in the same way that we did with guys like Thomas Drake and with Snowden.
And we should have them throughout, not just during Republican presidents. Agreed on that too.
Indeed, but they can't be both. They can't be both fake, and actionable leaks. And here is Jim Acosta making that point.
Jonathan Karl was asking you about. You said that the leaks are real, but the news is fake. I guess I don't understand. It seems that there's a disconnect there. If the information coming from those leaks is real, then how can the stories be
No,
fake?
the reporting is fake.
And if I may ask, I just want to ask
Jim, you know what it is? Here's the thing. The public isn't, they read newspapers, they see television, they watch. They don't know if it's true or false because they're not involved. I'm involved. I've been involved with this stuff all my life, but I'm involved.
Whole life.
So I know when you're telling the truth or when you're not. I just see many, many untruthful things. And I'll tell you what else I see. I see tone. You know the word tone.
Tone.
The tone is such hatred.
Hatred.
I'm really not a bad person, by the way. No, but the tone is such, I do get good ratings, you have to admit that. The tone is such hatred. I watched this morning a couple of the network, and I have to say, Fox and Friends in the morning, they're very honorable people. They're very, not because they're good, because they hit me also.
When I think honorable people, I think doozy.
I do something wrong. But they have the most honest morning show. That's all I can say. It's the most honest. But the tone, Jim, if you look...
Pause it for 1 second. Let me just understand, when he's talking about the whole... I've done this my whole life. He's talking about the media. He's not... He's so disconnected from what the conversation is about. He has a narrative that is running through his head. I think I've told this story about a guy who I knew up in Boston, and I hadn't seen him for 2 years. And he walked into a room that I happened to be in and sat down, and it was as if he had picked up a conversation that we were in mid-sentence 2.5 years earlier. I had no idea what he was talking about. And it took a while for me to understand, this narrative has just been going through his head. And that's what's going on with Trump here. He just hears one word that he associates with the narrative. He's got 4 or 5 of them running through his head. I'm not racist. I'm not anti-Semitic. I'm getting bad press coverage. And
I'm not a bad guy, which many people who are good people say.
And he proved it by saying he gets good ratings.
Well, apparently he doesn't keep up to
in the end, the ratings or the electoral college total, if you notice, he always goes back to the numbers, even when he's lying about them, because so there's so many levels of stupidity and dishonesty, it's kind of hard to break them all down. But let's say for a second, when he says his electoral vote total was one of the best ever, was actually true and not completely false. And the opposite. He literally did worse than about 80% of elected presidents on that score. But even if it were true, how does that prove anything about you? It doesn't prove you're a nice guy because you can get high ratings or get elected. All that proves is that that you fooled enough people. But the connection to him, it's sort of a light into his thinking about everything.
Indeed,
everything in the world good is based on numbers. Money, number of women you've been with, in his crazy mind. All these are all the things he judges himself by, and that's what makes him good.
All right,
and there's nothing else.
Sometimes somebody gets, Well, you look at your show that goes on at 10 o'clock in the evening. You just take a look at that show. That is a constant hit. The panel is almost always exclusive anti-Trump. The good news is he doesn't have good ratings. But the panel is almost exclusive anti-Trump. And the hatred and venom coming from his mouth. The hatred coming from other people on your network. Now, I will say this. I watch it. I see it. I'm amazed by it. And I just think you'd be a lot better off. I honestly do. The public gets it, you know. Look, when I go to rallies, they turn around, they start screaming at CNN. They want to throw their placards at CNN, you know. I think you would do much better by being different. But you just take a look. Take a look at some of your shows in the morning and the evening. If a guest comes out and says something positive about me, it's brutal. Now, they'll take this news conference. I'm actually having a very good time, okay? But they'll take this news conference. Don't forget, that's the way I won. Remember, I used to give you a news conference every time I made a speech, which was like every day, okay? No, that's how I won. I won with news conference and probably speeches. I certainly didn't win by people listening to you people, that's for sure. But I'm having a good time. Tomorrow they will say, Donald Trump rants and raves at the press. I'm not ranting and raving. I'm just telling you, you're dishonest people. But I'm not ranting and raving. I love this. I'm having a good time doing it. But tomorrow the headlines are going to be Donald Trump rants and raves. I'm not ranting and raving.
Yes.
I like how also he doesn't think that if he's having a good time, he can't be ranting and raving. He's crazy.
Right.
He's crazy.
Certain people who like to rant and rave.
Yes.
Yeah, that's what I mean. There's so many sort of windows into his thought process, and to show you like where he's so off from how normal people think about these kinds of things, and how it crosses. These things cross people's minds. The ratings and all that stuff is one part of it. The sort of judging every